Welcome to the Barcast. We are back again, warming up, getting ready for the Bar 5K Trail Mix. I'm Salt.
And I'm George.
And we've got...
I'm Ralph.
The official mountain goat. The goat of the mountain goats, and I mean goat as in greatest of all time. Welcome, Ralph. How you doing, man?
I'm fine, thank you. Thanks for having me here.
For the people listening or watching right now who have never heard of you before, I say, who's Ralph first? Tell us a bit about yourself. Let me start there.
Let me start here. I've been in Barbados 20 odd years. Originally from Berlin, Germany. My hobbies were really playing football more than anything.
Okay.
I'm a short guy. I've got fat legs. I'm not really a runner, but I was blessed with a strong lung, and I got into running quite early.
Engine.
And when it was time to stop playing football, I got more into running, and that coincided with me arriving in Barbados.
Okay, and you continued running in Barbados.
So
you ran all the way to Barbados. Apparently.
I ran all the way to Barbados. Yeah. No, some of the listeners may remember the Ufukuzo running group that you would have seen at a lot of the road races. And certainly when I first got here, there was no trail running at all.
Right.
At all. There were the Sunday hikes, and there were the Hash House Harriers. But the Hashers were not considered runners because that was a drinking group with a running problem.
Right, it is indeed.
So I always enjoyed running trails, and so I was hashing, but then on Sunday mornings I would head out with Ufukuzo, and we'd do the road races, and some of those years we had 10, 15, 5 and 10 Ks,
Right.
Even the few years before COVID, we actually had a more active road racing scene.
We did. It was really picking up.
Yeah, and so I continued my running. I had run my first marathon at a tender age of 17, a long time ago, and I saw that through to complete the 6 major marathons, the usual Boston, New York, London, Berlin.
It's not usual, Ralph.
Totally.
So what we're getting here is that you are a running junkie. So then you decided to introduce trail running here to Barbados, which fits naturally now with the trail mix coming up.
Yeah, I can't say I decided to introduce that, but
how it happened?
It was the hikers and the hill challenge, and the Sunday hikes started getting very competitive.
Right.
And some of the people started jogging down the hills. So the committee decided they would have this hill challenge, and they picked the 9 tallest hills in Barbados.
Right.
And they invited me, and they just said, "You want to participate?" And I said, "Sure, yeah, I'll do that." And they had prize money and everything. I said, "But I'll be running. I'll be outside of the competition." And of course, they went, "Yeah,
sure you will be running."
Little guy, yeah. So, and that's how it started, because I did beat the first fastest hiker by, I had literally showered.
2 hours?
Finished. No, it was 20 minutes. It was, it was a good margin.
Right.
And the organizers were so happy, and I said, this is the best thing that could have happened, because now
Really?
these guys really know they've got to work on something.
Right.
And from there, it really evolved into, I got more runners to come in, I got more hikers to do more running.
Yeah.
And that's why we have the hill challenge. And then a few friends started wanting to come out with me on my training runs for the hill challenge. And so that's how the mountain goats came about. I can't take credit, really. It was really the group, Jeremy Gunn, Stuart Gill, and a few of the early regulars.
So you're not a goat or the mountain goat, it's just a mountain goat.
I'm
right?
just a mountain goat. I'm not the goat. We have a lot faster runners now, and almost more regular runners too.
I've seen the hill challenge. It looks daunting. And I've also seen you training for the trail mix, the 5K trail mix. How does Cotton Tower Hill for you rack up in a race setting, all things considered? Because normally you'll be out training or you'll be doing the hill challenge or mountain goats. But in a 5K setting, which is more like a sprint, and you throw a Cotton Tower in there, scale of 1 to 10, difficulty.
In a 5K, so it's unusual to have a trail race over such short a distance and a hilly race. So normally you would see a 5K not including that kind of hill. So,
exactly.
So I think is very appropriate for the OCR crowd, but also for those who want to get into trail running to participate in this event, because it is a great introduction. And I know usually, as you would know, when we start the mountain goat training runs in January, we start usually with about 7K.
Right.
We work all the way up to 20, which is 21K is the distance of the hill challenge. So I think this trail mix, and also the one that George had put on about 2 years ago.
Last year, actually.
It
was last year? Yeah,
I've lost
for sure.
track of time.
Last February,
So it's a great introduction for people wanting to transition from road onto trail, because it is not 3 hours in the middle of nowhere. It's on a nice course. It has some hills, it has some grass, but it doesn't have the super challenging terrain.
Right.
So it's a wonderful introduction. That's why I'm here to really support and promote it.
We thank you for the support and promotion. Go on, George.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I've known Ralf for probably about as long as he's been in Barbados, actually, from the Run for Life days.
Right.
So Ralf has always been someone who we can bounce ideas off and get some feedback on how we're doing. And if Ralf gives us a seal of approval, we feel good about that.
Right.
Actually, it was Ralph's suggestion to introduce the pre-event on-site rapid testing, because we recognize that when we launch a registration for the 5K registration, my phone was pinging every 5 minutes, and then we had kind of the cluster of numbers come out,
and numbers started trending in the wrong direction.
Slow down a little bit. And we recognize that maybe there's certain people out there who are still not ready to reveal their vaccine status. And then the PCR test 72 hours before might be a little bit of a barrier. Where do I go? Right now, there's a lot of testing going on, and we don't want that to be a barrier for people entering the race.
Right.
So what we're going to do is through David Sumerick, I left Ralf came to see me at the gym. Well, he didn't come to see me. He went to do something with his car, and he wanted some air conditioning. So he came into the club to hang out for 5 minutes, and he made a suggestion for the pre-event on-site testing.
Yeah.
And I was literally going out the door to meet with David Sumerick from Amarone. And I spoke to him about it, and by the time I left that meeting, he'd already sourced all the tests online. We'd already got the pricing for it. And everything, and obviously David Sumerick has a relationship with Michelle Dowell, who is a physician and who is also at the moment helping out with some testing on island. And so she helped us to make sure that we were choosing the actual correct testing kit.
So everything fully right.
Yeah. So the way it would go on the day is you would turn up. If you don't have a vaccine certificate, then you're going to have to do the pre-event on-site testing. We directly towards the medical tent, which will be supervised by medical professionals.
Nice.
We do the rapid testing on site, put a band on you, you go into the race area, and you don't go back the other way, of course, until you finish the race and leave. So we think that this will make it a little bit easier for people. They don't have to worry now about standing in line at the gymnasium for hours.
So but they have to pay for the rapid test?
No, we're having actually the sponsors be through Amarone Trust and the other sponsors.
Thank you very much for that. That's a big deal.
Because we want to see this event happen. We feel like, there's still, from a sports perspective, we're all considering ourselves athletes, whether we're competing at the national level, the Olympic level, or just recreationally. Yeah. And there just has not been many opportunities for people to express their fitness over the last couple of years. And so we want to really go ahead with this event. As long as we're not causing any issues or increasing the risk of the spread of the virus on island, we're going to do everything we can to keep people safe, but still try our best to make sure that this event happens.
You also urge people not to do any gathering then, especially outside of your own personal bubble. If you're there with your wife or with your daughter, then maybe you could be together, but it ain't going to be a bunch of gathering up and hugging up and kissing up on the day either. It's strictly business now.
Correct. And we've separated the waves by 90 minutes to help facilitate that. So, when you finish your race, we don't want to kick people off a peg in a hurry, but again, we have 125 acres and multiple vantage points to watch the race. So, after you finish the race, if you want to watch the next wave, put on your mask, spread out, and enjoy yourselves, but help us to keep the risk down, for sure.
You registered already, Ralf?
Of course, that's why I went to see George. I was going to pay. I was actually going to pay. That was, and then I kind of remembered the whole testing thing, and then I thought, there may be an easier way of dealing with that and overcoming that hurdle of, as George says, people not maybe wanting to disclose their status. One of the challenges, obviously, of the recreational sports versus the professional sports or elite sports is the social aspect. And certainly from my experience with the running groups, or let's say Mountain Goats, or prior to that, or even during the week, I have a West Coast running group. We run in Sandy Lane Tuesdays, Thursdays. The socializing is a big aspect. Yeah. It gets you out of the house. You meet some friends, you chat on the run, but sometimes you run a little harder, so you can't talk as much as you would like to, so you hang around afterwards, you have your energy drink.
If you're trying to run and keep up with you, Ralf, then obviously there's not going to be much chatting going on, so you got to talk to you after. All the time.
Not that you're too tired, it's just that Ralf is doing the talking.
Ralf dominated the conversation.
When I'm there, and I think to some extent the mixture of athletics events and entertainment events, and that's where you come in, and this is where George really has that skill also, having music, having entertainment, having maybe celebrities,
making that an event,
having food is obviously not entirely compatible with the
situation
right now, right? Yeah. So I think what George is doing nevertheless is really, really important, and I don't think any of the other organizers have made that effort, and he's, I think, very fortunate to have also a sponsor. Right. But trust me, the sponsor cannot possibly cover everything. Yeah. So I want to support these efforts because it is so important for runners, recreational or elite, to have a goal race.
Well, I tell people all the time.
A lot of the motivation, some people can self-motivate and they're just happy to go running. But that, to me, I always tell people that's like praying or smoking something or something. You know, it's just a state of mind. Right. Like, a lot of us are competitive, and when we can't compete against others or can't beat them anymore, we try and beat our own times. Yeah. And to do that, we need independent verification. So we look for races. Right. Yeah. And if we can, on top of that, beat our friends or have a little game. Or
everybody doesn't start like that, but so eventually you start looking at your stats. Yeah.
So you will always find that before the event, you know, people attend training sessions, and that's a public health issue. That's a good thing. People coming out and exercising. So yeah, that's why I'm really supporting that. I'm otherwise have restricted my social life quite seriously, and I don't go to the hash anymore. I don't attend any of the hikes or anything. Keeping the running group small, as you know, with the goats.
It's 4 of you all.
We did have at some point the protocols, and we had people sign in and wearing the masks and things, but we scaled it back completely because at the end of the day, it's still recreational to some extent. It's not that important. But it's, you know, it's health.
It's order, though. It's all about keeping an order too, right? Yeah. You said something earlier about getting people who would normally be running a flat road into the trail, or maybe getting some hikers into running. And that's a part of a conversation I wanted to have with you today, which would be that we are going to have people listening right now who are not experienced trail runners or not experienced runners. But I really want to talk to people who would have been doing some running, like casual running, but they're not accustomed to A, racing, and B, trail running, and they're not going to be experts. But I just want you to give them an idea of what to expect, what difference to expect, and also how to prepare really for what would be essentially their first competitive trail run.
Yeah. I would say I don't think anybody could have designed a better introductory hill trail running course.
Here we go, clap for that.
I mean, you couldn't, and I know George just went out one day and walked the 5K, and that's
backwards, and it was the presto.
And you did go the other way around.
I walked it backwards. I put the finish line in first. Yeah.
So let me start at the beginning. It goes downhill and it's road, so that's easy. You get into it, you know, and you feel great, and everybody's going to run out way faster than they should. But now they're in the group.
Advice time, people.
And now the adrenaline kicks in. You know, now you're running and the competitiveness kicks in. So we then get onto the main road, we make a left, make another left, and now we start hitting a very gentle cart road. And it just goes up, and it's a gentle uphill. You don't break your stride. You can do some nice running. Right. At some point we come to the first white junction, you know, it gets a little narrow. I think George is going to clear that to keep the social distance and things. Terrain gets a little steeper, a little more uneven. But then just when you get tired, you get to the top and you're in the camping area.
Right. Just when you get tired, yes. You're saying it right now.
You go like, oh, wow, okay, now the mind gets distracted. Yeah. But then we have a little challenging downhill.
But it's also downhill.
Which is nice, you recover. And you're in the gully, this is cool, you know, a bit of trail running. But, you know, you've just made it over that first hill, but you're not dead yet. Yeah. Right? You're still running. You think, I can do this. Then you hit the stairs. Now you can decide to walk. I would recommend most people should really walk them. I mean, when we do the goats, we always tell people, you know, on the hills we do the walking, and we had the training session at Port House. Okay. So by all means, walk up the steps, and then you're on that long grassy stretch.
I want to stop you there by the steps, though. Your rhythm is going to be broken, though. You may, as you say, you just come off the descent.
Oh yeah, but by the time you get to the camping area, most people will be broken.
Beginners. Right? I tell you, but when you start to walk up those steps, then it's a real rhythm breaker, isn't it?
It is a rhythm breaker, but that's the difference between trail running and road running.
Yeah.
You
I
have to
think
expect, guys. It's
Carly
not-
said that last week. She prefers the road because she gets into the rhythm, she
Yeah.
gets into the zone, and she doesn't have the brain kind of switches off, and you get into this zone, and the legs are just doing their thing. You focus on your breathing and all that. No, in trail running, you're not going to get that.
Right.
But that's, to me, what makes it so exciting and more interesting. I would not suggest anybody wear headphones. I mean, people do like sometimes to get into that rhythm. They like to listen to certain music at a certain beat.
To get the cadence.
I think in trail running, you see very few people wearing their headphones. We do
For a
have
good
the odd
reason.
ones coming out, but you know, because you got to listen for somebody
Correct.
falling ahead of you or behind you, or
Use as
some
many of your
warning.
senses as you can.
And
Yeah.
especially when we run in the countryside, there may be some galvanized somewhere, some barbed wire, people shouting out, and
Right.
stuff like that. It's not like you're on the track or on the road where you can just
Right.
keep going. So yeah, so you couldn't have designed the
Or we just
the
offer
steps.
the steps, yeah.
Yeah, so I think they're great to have those steps in
I
there.
think
I
so
think
as
it's
well.
perfect. It's a good length. I mean, I do recommend that people, if they get the opportunity, and I think Peg Farm is relatively open. Maybe George can say something in terms of doing a test run for those who feel comfortable.
Yeah.
I think the route has been published. By all means, go out there and walk it even. But yeah, you get to the top of the steps, it's a little more uphill, and it's just, I love running on grass. I mean, there's nothing better than running on grass, and this time of year it's relatively soft because we do get regular
Very
rains.
lush up there, actually.
Yeah,
right
yeah.
now.
Again, some of the road runners will feel that it takes more effort and more work, but I just
Oh, you're
thoroughly
different.
enjoy
Built
it. And
different.
to me, it's relatively flat going along that ridge.
Yeah.
And this is actually where I get into my trail running rhythm,
Right.
right? Because I can then play with the effort and the heart rate and the pace and the length of the steps. And it keeps my mind busy, just getting,
Trying to
pacing
get that sweet
myself
spot.
and
Okay.
hitting that sweet spot there. Correct. And then, I mean, by the time you get to Cotton Tower, you're actually way past halfway. You're at 3K.
That's an interesting observation as well. This man's really breaking it down, guys.
So
Yeah.
the problem with some of the hill races is that they break people's minds too early.
Right.
And then they lose all motivation. Whereas here, past the halfway point, I've done just over 3K, you know?
Yeah.
So let me run down that hill, and then it's nice you go down as opposed to up and then come down. So I think that adds another twist that is my personal preference. In a race like this, I've done races where you run out flat, and then at the end you go up a steep hill, you turn around, you come back down, and then you race back. But I actually like here
Going
that way
down.
of going down
Yeah.
and then turn around. And I mean, it's an extremely challenging. It's a nice S-bend, so it's not just a straight
I think
downhill.
it's a
So
fairly
you
tricky
have
descent
you
to
have
me.
a turn.
Yeah.
I think Alex Cole was suggesting you could drive down there the day before with buckets of Clorox or something to wash down the road.
The moss on the
to
left-hand
get
side.
rid of the moss, or have at least a little trail. I've been on there. I've literally skied down there on my shoes.
Yes, when it's wet, you have to have the right shoes.
But I think this time of year it's been rainy enough that most of the oil and rubber has washed down. So
Right.
when it's wet, it shouldn't be too slippery. But again, your mind has to be 100% focused on not falling, basically. Also, at that point, you're going to see the faster runners. You may have
Coming
missed
back
some
up.
of them already. They're coming back up. You'll see how they're suffering, and you think, okay, I'm feeling okay right now. So, but it also motivates you, you know.
Yeah.
And you turn around at the bottom, and then you just make a decision. But I would recommend most people to walk it. I mean, when we did it last week, we did a slow run first, and then the second loop I pushed it, and I walked the whole thing.
You want to even on your
Coming
pushing?
back up. Yeah, so it turned at the bottom, and I just walked it. So you get back up to Cotton Tower.
Question now here
Yes.
for you quickly. As you've done it already, I was actually saying like to compare how much more energy you burn and effort you burn from running it as opposed to walking it. In terms of, is the amount of time gained running worth the amount of energy exerted to run it versus the amount of time you would lose by walking but saving energy?
That is a very, very difficult question to answer, except that everybody needs to find out for
themselves. Yeah.
And this is when I've coached people in hill running or when we do our mountain goat runs. I try and alert people to the fact that sometimes the walking has another aspect. You do use slightly different muscles when you're walking. So on a
True
five,
George.
Yeah.
Muscle
runners
groups.
will know this. Runners may run, 20 or 30 kilometers on a weekend when they're training for a marathon,
Yeah.
and they go on a 4-hour hike, and they're like, why are my
Smashed.
legs hurting?
Right. Okay.
Yes, because you do use different
I
muscles.
know,
And it's not just hills, it's just even straight walking. So in the longer runs, like the hill challenge, certainly the advantage of walking the hills is that you do give your running muscles a rest.
Right.
Okay? But of course, your lungs, there's a trade-off. I think in a 5K, you can tiptoe up the hill slowly. It's really all about managing your heart rate.
Okay.
So for that short a hill, it's managing your heart rate.
Because it's steep, but it's not long.
It is steep. It is not super long. It's not super short.
Okay.
It's much longer than the steps. And you
That's true.
if you go up the steps fast, you can get your legs to burn.
Yeah.
So you can certainly burn out your legs coming up there.
Yeah.
Go too fast. But the usual advice: shorten your legs and use your upper body, use your arms, use your momentum, use your strengths
Yeah.
in your shoulders to help. Don't hang your arms back and make your legs carry your arms up the hill. Use the muscles in your arms to get up there. And then find the transition. Now, this is a hill that is fairly steady in the slope, so it doesn't level out and get steeper. And then, so you don't have to do too much transitioning between running at a certain pace or walking.
Right.
And just when you get to the top and it levels out, obviously, if you've been walking, you then make that decision when you transition back into running.
Right.
Yeah, and then you ease into the running. And you have a stretch of road, and then you're back on beautiful trails.
And for some reason, I found that after Cotton Tower, the race gets really quick again. You start really quick, and then the course gets really quick as soon as you summit Cotton Tower.
Again, I don't think it could have been designed better because you don't really see the finish line. Even if you know the area, you have a rough idea where it is.
Right.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, I've run it twice now, and I've run in that area several times, so I have a rough idea of the lay of the land where everything is. But I still surprise myself each time that at first how far away I am in, and then how all of a sudden, the finish line's right there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So again, you couldn't have designed it any better, because it does give you the time to recover from the bowling alley climb,
Yeah.
so that you can get that 5K race feeling. So I think most people can get back into their rhythm, into their 5K race pace, whatever that may be, and they can have that acceleration, that nice feeling.
For the last 2K.
And then what I find, again, they couldn't have designed it better. There's a 90, and when you're thinking, I'm heading home, because you see the silos and building, and then there's that. So you could not have designed this any better.
Seems that you're really happy.
So it's great. I mean, it's really. I mean, I knew it was going to be a nice running experience because of the area generally.
Yeah.
But how the pieces fit together is incredible. It's really good. Yeah.
I think I agree with him. I think it's pretty much a good summation. I think everybody that's planning to do the trail mix should really go out there and see the course on themselves, but also remember everything Ralf said just now, because he hit every nail on the head to me.
I wish I could take I want to sit here and pretend that it was this real great plan in the design. But the PEG just lends itself to it. And obviously, having done bar at PEG previously, I had a very good idea of what 5K was, because 5K is a distance that we use for the open wave, for the corporate wave, and for day one of the competitive wave. So I had marked out roughly 5K previously. Obviously, with the obstacle course race, you're crisscrossing the field with the obstacles and so on. And so I knew roughly where it went, and I just knew where I wanted the finish line to be, and it just worked out first time. So we had to make a couple adjustments as they move the bees around PEG.
Yeah.
But I actually think it's actually more natural running. So now you kind of just stay on the cart road up until the campsite, so you're not turning and turning again in cow corner. So it actually makes for better racing, I think. So that was a good accident, a happy accident for us, and I think it will work out well on the day.
I was actually thinking to myself when I ran it most recently, the same part where you said it gets really narrow. I was saying that's why people need to run the course, because that alone, I know you don't want gathering or bunching too much, but that alone is a part of trail running to me, and cross country running and racing, in that you have to strategize to know that you don't want to be held up in this point. So even if you don't want to necessarily hit the gas over that first hill. But you might have to get in front of these people who you think are going to slow you down in the other parts. So you got to know the course. No, Ralph.
Yeah, I would. I mean, if we're talking about, I would agree for somebody who has like really competitive aspirations, yes. Yeah. But for somebody who's more recreational or really wants to do their own personal best,
yeah,
I would try and ignore the others, and I would just focus on my own effort. And that stretch, it needs widening just because of social distancing, and somebody just has to go through with a brush cutter or something and make it at least 8 or 10 feet wide, because it is early enough in the race.
It will still be close.
People will be passing. If it was on the last kilometer, I would say by then it's stretched out enough. Right. And again, it's just based on the mountain goat running experience, and the hill challenge. We know more or less once the field starts stretching out, we can go on single track. Yeah. But at that point, it needs to be wider, because we don't want people elbowing into each other or having a kind of traffic jam. And what is worse, if somebody falls, because one of the things in trail running is you do want to look ahead where you're stepping. So if you on the road, you can be running in the cluster and you see the paces and the marathons and stuff like that, right? And they're literally just a few inches apart, because we don't have to look where their foot lands.
Right,
you're running trails, and if we have a heavy downpour the night before, we may get a little river coming through or something. There may be a rock exposed that wasn't there, even if you'd run it the day before. So you always need to keep your eyes on the ground. So if you're too close to someone else, you want to run next to someone rather than right behind them.
Right.
So please.
No drafting.
Yeah, no drafting. You mentioned something there that's not like going to try to see if I could drought Ralph here right now. You spoke to people that are competitive.
Yeah.
Not going to call any names, but do you have any ideas as to who you would expect to see at the front, in the men and in the women?
I am not going to name any names. All right. But one observation, and I've shared this with you, is that I am, and if I had to put money on, or if I had to say what would be the most surprising, strong performance, look out for cyclists.
Cyclists.
When it comes to hill running, the best base is cycling. So you can be a super fast, flat road runner, but you meet a cyclist that is a mediocre runner, and you meet that cyclist running in the hills, you're going to be surprised.
Question for George. Have any cyclists registered? Any cyclists that are above mediocre running?
I'm not revealing any entries at this point. You'll have to come out on the 25th and see. Yeah.
That's why we haven't told people exactly when it is. We've been talking as though everybody's watching right now knows.
We had part of the mountain groups, we've had people come out through really obstacle racing. I have George sent them, or they felt like they needed to come out, and the guys that I see on Strava cycling a lot during the week, they're right up there.
Okay.
They're right up there.
Yeah.
They have lung volume. They have the ability to push
and the legs.
Bodies. See, in trail running and hill running, you got to have a different pain threshold from flat road running.
Right.
The key to running good 5K or 10K or half marathon is really a fairly consistent effort, but just below. And I think for some types of cycling, and certainly for the hill and trail running, you need to be able to sometimes push into the red zone, and then recover from that, and then find your rhythm again. And I think the cyclists have that ability.
Well, that's possible on a bike, right? That's much easier on a bike than it is on because even when you're running, you still have to have an effort running downhill.
Yeah.
As a cyclist, I could push hard uphill and then free downhill. Yeah.
But what he's saying about the cycling as well is that cadence is a big thing. Cadence and tempo is a big thing with cycling. So you will see that they may probably mentally go on to the small gear and mentally chip up the hill, because they know that when they're riding, that's how they go up the hill. They don't grade the hill.
Correct.
Right. So they probably
it
may be that
strategy wise too. Yeah. Allocating effort. So that would be my my guess there. But on the day, you'll just never know. And 5K is a short distance.
Anything can happen.
Anything can happen. Somebody had a bad night before eating something, and then they would probably normally be the favorites or be able to run faster. So
What about you? Do you think you can win?
Oh no, I know I can't.
No?
No.
What sort of
No.
So not anything can happen then.
There were a few names dropped, I think, last week
Right.
about the 5K runners and the
Right.
fastest road runners. Now, I've never beat Leo Gans, but I have beaten Darren Matthews, I've beaten Jason Wilson, and I've beaten Matthew Wright. But they were 13 and 14 years old.
Don't worry, Saul can't get any 13 and 14 year olds.
When I was doing triathlons, so I mean, at least Josh and Carly can't claim that. But
Right.
The three of them were in the junior triathlon program when I was doing triathlons.
Yeah, yeah.
It's great to see for them to have come through, you know, and made a career of it.
Yeah.
I'll probably win the 50-plus German category.
50 plus German ex-footballer category.
Humor so dry, right? It's hilarious.
I'm still competitive in terms of I have an idea, especially after last week's training run and after tomorrow.
Yeah.
What I want to be able to do, but I also know here in Barbados, I don't get too disappointed if I can't run the time I had in mind, whether that's Run Barbados or Hill Challenge, because the conditions on the day,
Right.
the humidity, how wet or dry it is,
Right.
it makes a big difference. So even if your preparation, your diet, the days leading up, your nutrition and your hydration is good, also on race day, the external conditions just fluctuate too much.
Completely different course if it rains.
Yeah,
It
completely.
is a completely different course if it rains because there are places on that course where you now really have to. You're going to be skiing basically. You have to really walk those bits of the course.
Where were we?
Yeah, we were saying that the course is completely different if it rains.
Depending on the
Depending on the weather, yeah. So it's nice if it's dry, but once it rains, then all of a sudden the downhill bits on the trail become very slick.
That may be a bit of an equalizer as well. Horses for courses, I should say.
Yeah, because I think downhill running, people don't really realize how technical it is. It's a skill that you have to develop.
Right.
You know, if you could take a guy off a football field or off a basketball court and he can do a 5K and he can be around 25 minutes, you know, for a half decent fitness guy.
Yeah.
But you have to really develop that skill of being efficient on the downhill and uphill running.
Right.
And you tend to see the differences with people who train it and people who just come out and have a go, for sure.
Right. It introduced a bit of chaos.
Yeah,
Yes, and I compared a little bit to the open water swim and the pool swim and the triathlon.
Okay.
Right.
That those who haven't had a formal swim training from young age onwards and get into triathlons later tend to have a competitive advantage in open water because the highly trained swimmers from a young age tend to struggle a little more. So again, this speaks in favor or may explain the popularity of trail running and people migrating into trail running that would not have otherwise considered road running, because it does, in my view, equalize it a little bit, because while George is 100% right, for advanced trail running, a lot of skill is required.
Right.
For basic recreational trail running, you don't actually need the same skill level as a road runner.
Right.
And sometimes a footballer
Right.
who has the stamina and the muscles and is used to maybe more explosive sprinting, but being, football game is 90 minutes.
Right.
So
Especially if you're accustomed playing football on the fields in Barbados, it might be.
It looks like a trail run anyhow.
you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So a course like this may actually be more inviting for
Because they will be playing on grass as well. So,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, except it's all flat. But yeah, I guess we'll see. It will definitely be interesting to see how different types of athletes deal with the course. And 5K is one of those things that you can get. Your basketball team can come out and almost use it as a training event.
Yeah.
Your soccer team. Because right now, team sports are on hiatus.
Pause, yeah.
So you can bring this is another way to bring your group together and do something together. Some basketball,
See where your times are, see where your
exactly.
fitness
And
is
just, you test your fitness, exactly. You come out, you do it together, and then you go back to the club and you figure out who needs to do more work. And who's going to be ready for the upcoming season.
So, yeah, if you know anybody with a basketball team, football team, anything like that, or your football team wants to get involved, BarbadosAdventureRace.org, bar_race on Instagram, and get registered. We are only allowing 100 people per wave. I think that all the waves are at least 50% subscribed already. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Correct. Because there was such a rush at the beginning and then
Yeah.
it slowed down, I was telling myself that there really weren't as many persons entered already that I thought there would be. And then I looked at the app today and I was like, well, we actually have some really decent numbers here.
So
I am encouraging.
those are going to shrink very quickly coming up as well.
Exactly. But I am encouraging the schools to get involved quickly, because if one games teacher, for example, brings 4 teams, that's already 20 persons, So, with so many teams, so many schools on the island and not having had any school sports for the last little while, and with a big incentive for the coaches and the clubs and schools, I would say get involved quickly, get registered as soon as you can, because for sure we're going to have to.
So again, once again, if you're listening or watching, there's the team competition for these schools, for the youngsters, and we don't want it to be a case that come to September 27th and the child sees somebody from another school getting this prize and then getting presented with all these spikes or hurdles or starting blocks. Right. And you're saying, oh, we didn't even know about it. Well, you know about it now. So correct. please, you don't want to have to.
Exactly. And I have a young intern who has been making my life very, very easy. His name's Nathan. Yeah. He's been working and calling all the schools, calling all the teachers, and he's sending out all the information. So we know now that the word is out there. So
getting the word out there, man.
Yeah, he's making life very easy. Absolutely. Come out and get involved. Remember, for those of you hearing for the first time, the winning team gets a $1,500 incentive in equipment or supplies for their team or school. And the winning coach of that team will get $500, and that's in cash. And that's per division, under 20, under 18, and under 16. So once again, thanks to David Sumerick and the Amarone Charitable Trust for making this all possible. The medals shipped yesterday, so we should get them in time as well. Lots and lots of goodies for you. So for by all means, be a part of this great event.
And I can't let you get out of here, Ralph, before asking you about the Barbados Trailway. How is the project coming along? How you got the shirt? Yeah,
I got the shirt on, yeah.
I spoke about you with terms of trail running, but I know that this Trailway project is really near and dear to your heart. How is it coming along?
Yeah, we're making progress now, finally. I mean, it's something Barney and I have been talking about for 12 or 13 years. Yeah. And the stars are aligning. It's just touching on so many aspects.
If you could just tell the listeners right now, what exactly is it?
We're basically using the easement or government land of the former Barbados Railroad, and we want to turn that into a multi-purpose hiking, walking, running, and cycling trail. So some sections will be paved. Of course, the East Coast section from Bass to Cattle Wash is going to remain as a beautiful trail. But
rustic, okay.
Upgrade, people would have been aware of the upgrade of the Joes River Bridge. Also the MTB 246 mountain bikers upgraded a little bridge coming out of Bass, out of Bass Beach as you're heading towards Bashaba. Right now we're building the demo stretch because obviously this has never been done in the Caribbean even.
Right.
So some people who've traveled to North America or Europe would be familiar with these kind of rail to trail conversions.
Rail to trail, right.
They're flat, and there's usually an easement that can be used that hasn't been built on, and we have this right here in Barbados. So it's public land, but it runs through a lot of plantations, St. George Valley and then into St. Philip, and people are not aware that it's there. So except for the annual hike, people have been reluctant to use it. So we recently completed another stretch of paving thanks to
this is up with Dash Valley
Construction, who've agreed to sponsor the initial 2 kilometers.
Nice.
So this is at the Valley Islands Farm, Valley Plantation, Dash Valley Crossing, correct. So that was just completed, but we've cleared another mile or so west of there towards Norman Isles Roundabout in the back of Salters. Right. We started planting trees. We've got the guys from the Walker's Sand Quarry. They've been involved in planting trees.
It's going to be beautiful.
We've had some schools out planting trees. We've had the Duke of Edinburgh Awards. Youngsters, they have to do their annual program. They've been planting trees. We've had a big hike from Goddard's Enterprises for their 100th anniversary. They've been advertising that a lot. They walk from Sunbury. So, yeah, a lot of activity, and yeah, really excited about it, and it's moving right along, and I think Barbados is really going to benefit from it, not just the sports, but like everyone. I mean, we want people to use it. It'll be free of charge.
Ralf Luther, man, in Barbados for 20 years and doing all this here. He knows more trails in Barbados than I do, and I consider myself a consummate Bajan. But he's coming here, he's really explored himself. 20 years here in Barbados, 20 years of running, introducing a lot of people to trail running and a lot of initiatives with the Hill Challenge and everything. And he's going to be there on the 25th of September for Barbados Adventure Race's 5K trail. Mate, so happy to have had you here today with us, Ralf. George, once again, let people know where they can register, why they should register, how they can register.
BarbadosAdventureRace.org. Look for the link that says Amarone 5K Trail Mix. Just click on the link. Remember, you put in your information and we'll do race packet pickup. Say that fast 3 times. Race packet pickup the day before the event. Ideally, if you have your vaccine certificate, that's fine. But now we're going to be doing the pre-event on-site rapid testing. So
again,
big
news.
Yeah, this is a major breaking news here. So you can just turn up on the day. Obviously, give yourself a little bit of extra time. We'll have our medical professionals there to administer the test for us. Once you're negative, you can proceed to the race area. And then I think that removes a little barrier, especially now that there might be a little bit of increased testing on the island.
Yeah.
All the schools, clubs, racing organizations, everybody should come out, all the recreational athletes. Even if you want to come and just walk the course, it's a beautiful course to walk. Peg is a beautiful place, so if you come down there on that day and you want to stay for breakfast or spend some money in the restaurant, by all means support them because they support us.
Yeah.
You can follow all the updates. We tend to use Instagram as our main social media vehicle, so we're updating every day. So follow the Instagram page bar_race. It pushes to Facebook anyway. If you're old, and you prefer to use Facebook, you can always see the post there as well. But yeah, so we're inviting everybody to come out. Well, not everybody, the first 100 people who register.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Will be allowed to take part in the race, but come along, support this event. Let's make this thing happen.
Thank you, Ralf.
Guys, thanks for putting this on. I hope it's there's going to be many more.
Yeah, let's talk.
I'm hoping there'll be more trail runs,
Yeah.
and I think the demand is there. I think people will be grateful that you're putting this on in these very, very difficult times. Thanks
Correct.
a lot.
No, thank you, Ralf.
Thanks for supporting it.
Yeah, for sure. I also want to say a big special thank you to Amarone Trust. Also, thanks to BioSteel for helping to provide some rehydration. We're going all the sponsors on the day of the trail mix.
Can't say enough thanks to James and Be Social podcast, because without him, nothing happens. And this gives us
the podcast get us some traction, boy.
Absolutely. We need these long form platforms to be able to talk to people a little bit more.
Yeah.
30-second ad just never works. So thanks a lot to Be Social podcast